very vague term. Make it reasonable. What does that mean? I need to go out on dates. I need you to send me flowers. I need you to write me love letters, right? So that's reasonable and measurable, because you can measure, did he take you out on dates? Did he give you flowers? Does he write you love notes? And so a lot of times women will say, I need you to be romantic, but that can mean different things to your husband or your boyfriend than it means to you. And so you can never be too explicit when it comes to men about what your needs are. And also, it is unfair, although understandable, it is unfair to get angry at your partner for the things you did not say you wanted.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
if you didn't say that you wanted those things, then it's unfair for your partner to experience your wrath because you didn't properly state what your needs are.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And Dr. Troy, I see you shaking your head on that one in agreement. So I'm gonna let you respond to that, and also just give me
Sure.
your thought on the video as well.
Absolutely. So let me first address what was first said, because I think one of the barriers we have is, even with being able to tell someone from a regional and detailed perspective, there's still a gap between what is reasonable and what is detailed enough. So that is understanding someone's both their love language and their love dialect to properly be able to communicate to one another. And sometimes we just do just enough. We think we've dotted our I's and crossed our T's by saying, well, I told him I want to go out on dates, but what's a date to you? A date to him could be going to a basketball game. But if you don't like basketball, that's not a date to you. A date to you could be going to a specific type of restaurant. You may like Italian, he may like Chinese. You have to be a lot more specific, and still keep it reasonable. In relation to the video, the biggest problem I have to when we talk about communication is we have a lot of assumptions without taking into account the impact of nurture, right? So you knew what I was talking about. It's just saying always and every time. Very,
So,
very similar, because large amount of assumption. Please.
I'm gonna jump in. So I feel I feel, if I ask my man, right, or my
Mhm.
husband or whoever to put the food away, right?
Okay.
Hey, I don't feel like I need to explain step by step, because when has he went in the refrigerator and seen pans in the refrigerator when I put the food away? So just logical. And if he got something out the refrigerator from leftovers, he's not taking a pan out the refrigerator. He's taking a Tupperware or something out the refrigerator.
Okay.
So I feel like, why do I have to say, babe, put the food away? And I have to say, well, no, take the food out, put it in another container, put the lid on it, put it in the refrigerator, and close the refrigerator door. If
Okay.
No,
so, and then also
no.
I feel like, if he's, it depends on how long we've been together. And I hear what Mr. Gregory saying about love language and things like that. It depends on how long we've been together. Because if we just starting off, of course, I need to let him know, what I like, what's romantic to me, not to him, but for me. But if we've been together for some time, I don't feel like I gotta keep telling him over and over and over, like, I want this love letter, because now I feel like I'm begging. I feel like you're only doing it because I'm saying it, not because you want to do it. And I got to repeat the same thing over and over, because when men speak, we listening, we taking notes, we listening.
Well, the only
No,
gap that I hear in that is that people change from your first year to your fifth year to your 10th year to your 15th year. You're a totally different woman than the woman that he married in 10 years in your relationship. And so your ideal of romance could have changed, could have evolved, could be totally different. And so you have to sometimes touch base with your partner and say, this is what's romantic to me. This is what's significant. This is what's important. And so I want to make you aware of how I receive love today.
now
Mhm.
I'm going in between both of y'all. Now the video for me, I'm like team him on that one. She did say put the food away. The food was put up. She didn't
Right.
she didn't ask him to wash the dishes. She didn't ask him. She just said, put the food away. My thing is, it's just not the food is not left out. It's not gonna spoil. We're gonna be able to open it up. We can put it on the stove. We can still warm it up. So I go with him on that, because if we don't say it enough, that's just like if I say, baby, take out the trash, and he just take it out, but he don't put it on the curb. I didn't say, well, take it out and put it on the curb. He just took it outside and put it in the dumpster. So I'm with him on that. It could have been a little bit more effective. And like you said, then I can also say, if you've been together long enough, then yeah, you probably know those things. But sometimes do it slip their mind, because I'm a woman. And if I'm ready to go to bed at night and I don't feel like it, I'm not gonna say I don't have time. If I don't feel like it, them pots going in the refrigerator. And that's just gonna be just fine for me. And we're gonna be just fine when we eat tomorrow. That's me. Then when he said about the love languages and things like that, what we did in year 1 is probably still not what I want to do in year 5. And if you're still tapping on year 1, definitely there's a lack of communication there, and that's not what's sustainable anymore. You used to could probably bring me blueberries and strawberries. Well, I probably didn't involve the watermelon. I don't want that. I don't want that
Right.
anymore. If I say I want to go on a trip to water, the first time you took me, we may have went to Memphis. I couldn't even see my feet in the water. I'm talking about the water that's blue and that's green. But if I don't say that, you'll just think Galveston was all right, and it wasn't. But then I have my attitude, even though I go on the trip with you, then I'm still in my feelings about it a little bit, because this little window view over here, honey, I'm over here looking at all these ships coming through, honey, with their cargo, when I'm really just want to look at the waves, just the ripples in the wave, but I didn't communicate that.
Hey, so there's this song from Avant, and he's in the lyrics. He said, "I can read your mind, baby." Lyrics. When you put into lyrics, and men, try to be like, "Hey, I pay attention," and the best of us do. But at the end of the day, we're still human, right? So I do get what Ivory's saying. I don't want to make you an outlier in this discussion.
No,
But with that being said, I think we err if we thinking that someone's gonna be able to read our mind, our intentions. Now, I will concede that maybe the pots with food in them in the refrigerator is not the best example, but I think the concept or the context in that conversation is if you're needing something, be sure that you're clearly communicating with it. And I do like what Gregory said, like it's not fair for your partner to feel your wrath if you have not clearly communicated what you're needing and what you're expecting from it.
There's also the unfortunate concept of assuming that we feel the same way about an item. So we'll still go back to the pots in the refrigerator. It's not fine to you, but it's perfectly fine to me.
Yeah.
We can't assume that we feel the same way. I want to go one step further, because another topic that was mentioned was you're doing it not because you want to or you really feel that way, but because I asked you to. Let me ask a question. Why is that bad? Why can't I do something because you wanted it? I just want to please you. It's not because I actually wanted it.
Mm-hmm. So I don't always bad, like, doing it because, but we want to feel like you're taking the initiative and doing it on your own instead of us like telling you. So if I want to, I don't know, if I like going out to the movies and my man noticed I like going to the movies, I don't want to have to say like, can we go to the movies? Can we go to the movies? Can this movie coming out and giving these hints? Sometimes you just want to feel like, babe, let's go to the movies. Let's go to the movie because I know you like the movies. I don't want to feel like I have to keep begging him,
On the lines of initiative, right? Is that what we're saying?
Yes.
Okay. So in this particular instance, we're talking about two different topics, right? So initiative, yes, right? I absolutely believe that both men and women have to show initiative and offer those things because you want to make your partner happy, right? That it doesn't make a difference what it is, but sometimes if a man buys you flowers, after flowers, right? Because often men will do things out of habit. We'll think you like roses, but you like daffodils. So after we find out what you like, we should know, all right, I've asked, she's told, and now I'm going to follow that track forward. That's initiative. I'm going to do it on my own. If I can tell a very quick story. I had a very, very close friend of mine who scheduled in his calendar to remind himself to buy his wife flowers on Friday.
Mhm.
Okay, he's a very busy man. He
Mhm.
ran his own business. He was always running, doing something.
Mhm.
And one day she saw the text message, the reminder go across his phone. And she got angry at him because he just didn't remember by himself.
Mhm.
And his statement was, I don't really care about flowers, but you do. I did this, mind me to do this for you. I still want to do it for you, but I'm just not going to remember because it's not necessarily important to me to buy flowers. It's important to me to buy flowers for you.
Mhm. No,
That's
and
good.
I get that. You know, like if I would have seen that message, you know, across, you know, reminding flowers, I'm like, okay, that's important. He's making me a priority. I'm like, okay, babe, that's important. You know, like this, like if someone tells me something, I automatically put it in my calendar because I'm either going to forget or I want to make sure I remember. You know, because it's like you said, it's important to you. But if I have to keep reminding you
Yes,
over
I
and
agree.
over and over, like now it feels like one is not important to you, you know, and I'm not important to you.
Yeah.
So
That's good, and I get it, and I guess it really depends on what it is. Different situations bring different leverage or different. They weigh different on each other. So, man, this is good. I want to go and hit a couple of these comments real quick. We got Nikki Pugh, and for everybody in the audience, if you're watching, please comment. Remember, this show is called the Floor Is Yours podcast, so we want to put an emphasis on making sure we give a voice to you, so you can share your concern and asking the questions that you may have while we got these talented people up here. But Nikki Pugh, she says relationships can be so simple but complex. Hey, give me a person that communicates and can apologize, and that is for me. And I get it. I get what she's saying, being able to apologize. But I will say this, and this is not refuting. This is just adding. I want to make sure that we're not putting expectation of perfection on the other mate, and that means that anytime that they may not do it to your liking or to your standard, or they might be having a bad day, that I talk to some of my friends and I say this, that when it don't go your way, you don't blow the setup just because they didn't do it your way. So anybody want to respond to Nikki comment before we move to the next one?
Yeah, if I could. Oh, I'm sorry. You go ahead.
Well, I wanted to circle back to something that you said earlier, Dr. Troy, and that is the impact of nurture. It's very challenging sometimes when you have two people who are now cohabitating together, who grew up in a household that communicated one way. So you have two different people whose families may have communicated assertively, and another family may have been very passive. And now you have
Right.
these two people who are now merging life together, and they're trying to figure out their own rhythm, but their default setting is what their parents showed them.
Yes.
So oftentimes you have women whose default setting is, I'm going to speak to my man the way my mother spoke to my dad. And conversely, the other way around, men speak to their wives the way they saw their dad speak to their mother. And although we may not respect that or want to repeat that behavior, is still ingrained in us as our default setting unless we're intentional about changing it. And so that is behavior that has to be made aware of in our psyche, that I have to change this behavior because my default setting is only going to take me as far as my parents went. And if I want to go further, then I'm going to have to do some work.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah, that's good. We got this next comment down there. It says strive for excellence and not perfection. And I guess that's you're going to take that based off of how you perceive, because I think that could be some blurred lines, right? And each person's, Gregory's point, upbringing can influence what you consider to be excellence. So
yes, right. That is the definition of filtering through your nurture. But I just want to go back very quickly to the prior one, because I have a very specific saying that I often say. So it's one, we have to talk about effectiveness, not just offering communication. It has to be effective, right? Effective listening, effective speaking. All right, it's number one. Number two, apologies and apologies. The best kind of apology is one that is freely given, unasked for, seldomly done, and earnest, and followed by changed behavior.
Can
Right,
you repeat that one more time?
step,
For the
Dr.
people
Troy.
in the back.
Right.
So the best kind of apology is one that is unasked for, infrequent, given, and followed by changed behavior. Right? It doesn't make a difference if I keep saying I'm sorry. And I'm also a big fan of saying, just because you said I'm sorry doesn't mean I have to accept it.
Right.
Mm.
Sometimes we'll say, I'm sorry, I accept your apology. We don't really mean that, right? What we mean is I don't want to fight anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to learn that you consistently and continuously saying, I'm sorry, but not changing your behavior means you're making a choice because of a bad habit that is now a part of your cycle.
Hmm.
And it's a choice that it becomes a bad habit is now part of your cycle. So we have to understand that you can defer responsibility, but you cannot defer accountability. Every apology in the world falls on deaf ears when you're not actually accountable. Accountability breeds change behavior.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So we can beat this one till it's dead in the ground. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a short moment to play a commercial. And after commercial, we're going to come back and jump into the conversation.
Okay.
Open your heart, open your mind. In the words I speak, love you fine. I'm not asking for space, just a little grace to feel understood, to find my place. I said I needed a moment. You heard I wanted to go our separate ways. Here just I talk to you, but you don't hear. My feelings loud, but they disappear. I say my heart, but you miss the beat. I need you to listen, not just.
If I had a group of brothers that I could confide in, a group of brothers that encourage me to be the best man possible, brothers that hold me accountable for my actions, but won't beat me down when I fall short. If I had brothers like that in my life, I'd open up more about my challenges. I wouldn't be afraid of being vulnerable and transparent. I'd be more deliberate in my actions and not scared of failure. I would act like everything is okay when I'm hurting inside. It often seems like it's an all-out assault from the world on black men. And the hurtful words of my lady cut deep. I can't show my pain because if she knew that she hurt me, she would do it over and over again, hoping that each time cut me deeper than the last. I do understand that women have challenges too. That's why I'm working so hard to be the strength that she needs. But I need a band of brothers who understand that sometimes I simply want them to listen. Sometimes I need advice, but other times I need a shoulder to lean on. I need a band of brothers that create a safe space that gives us all the chance to talk about our fears, because it's therapeutic when real men talk.
All right, welcome back. So yeah, that trailer is just the introduction to what's starting next week. If you've been following us on social media, we've been sharing a lot that we're doing, and one of them is Real Men Talk, and it's just what it says is it promotes healthy conversation amongst men, and even that whole word healthy, that could be some subjectivity in there too, but it's just what it says at the end, just creating a safe space so we can get there and share our deepest challenges with each other without fear of being judged and talk bad about because we feel a certain way. So starting next week, we got some spirited conversations. Day one is Tuesday, July the 3rd. It's going to be one of my favorite discussions out of the whole the series, and it's going to talk about infidelity and miscarriage, and it's something that hits home directly with me.
You muted.
That's going to be on there. And we're going to talk about one of them that's dealt with miscarriages, and the other one who have dealt with what's the word I see? How you say the infidelity, not infidelity. And Lord forgive me, I'm talking about
in vitro.
No,
in vitro
fertilization.
Yeah, it's what your daughter Misha has dealt
Oh,
with.
endometriosis.
Yes,
Oh,
yeah.
oh,
Man, I was
Infertility.
like, now,
I'm
I
saying
mean, you threw,
infidelity, meaning infertility. Forgive me for
yeah, you threw me out there like, what? I'm like, what, baby? I'm lost at this point, but I'm glad the Holy Spirit dropped down in you the words you needed to come up with.
hey man, use your words and real men talk. But yeah, we're gonna talk about miscarriages and infertility and from a male standpoint. Often, and understandably so, those are talked about through the female lenses, but we're gonna have some men come in and talk about how they dealt with it and at the same time had to lift up their female mates too. So it's gonna be a spirited conversation. Day two, if you've been watching the current events, the young lady up in Illinois that got shot and killed by the police. So one of the conversations is going to be about what's our shared responsibility in protecting our women. And that's when I say shared responsibility, we're talking about the community leaders, the police, men, as well as the female herself. So one of the challenges that I've heard from men is to say like, hey, I'm trying to protect my woman, but she don't listen to me. I try to tell her not to go here or do this, and she don't listen to me. But if something go wrong, I'm looked at as the one that didn't do what was necessary. So we're going to get into those conversations about protecting our women as well. And the guest is my cousin, the great Dr. Marlon Ware. He brings a lot to the conversation. So I'm looking forward to that. And that last day, that Thursday, we got y'all know Angelia. She's going to be on, and a brother named Antonio Mitchell, and we're going to talk about the 91-day rule. Y'all all are familiar with the 90-day rule from Steve Harvey. But our mindset is you reach that 90 days of being abstinent or avoiding, sexual intimacy, then what? So we want to talk about what do you do on day 91. So it's going to be a great conversation from the lenses of men. So please tune in next week to Real Men Talk. Real Men.
You know what they doing on the 90-day 90.
Oh, yeah.
first day.
I know it at 91, child. I'm going to give me a steak and a potato.
So then we're gonna talk about it. Everybody got their rules now. At day 91, then what? So tune in next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday for Real Men Talk. So let's jump into this next part of the conversation. For she said, he heard what we're talking about, how women communicate, and sometimes men, we're divinely different. We understand it differently. So we're going to talk about these challenges on what we can do to overcome those challenges so we can have healthy relationships. So this next question is, men and women communicate differently. And we kind of hit that a little bit earlier, but we're going to delve deeper into it and just talk about, that men and women do divinely think differently. That old book that says men are from Mars and women are from Venus. That's completely that. So we're going to start and talk about that. I don't want to tag anybody in. Who wants to start off talking about how we process information differently as men and women?
So I feel like, it was hard for me, just to be transparent, to understand that men actually think differently than women, because if I'm communicating effectively, why isn't he understanding what I'm trying to say? So it was hard for me to understand it. I was, and it made me pull back in relationships, because I'm like, why does he not understand it? Why, what am I not communicating? Like, and then sometimes I feel like when we do communicate, or if I am saying something, men shut down.
Yes.
So men they were shut down. So now it went from just very little communication to none. And now we both mad in the situation. And I'm trying to process. Well, what happened? What happened? So I didn't really understand, in the beginning that we do communicate differently. We do understand and communicate differently.
You're absolutely.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, what I gathered, like for me, I think it was, I can't remember who said it, but it was going back to what you were raised up in. How either I saw my mom effectively communicate or not, how I saw my dad do it or not, on what I should expect from a man. So there was this trial and error that would go through this process. But then, like you said, here I am with maybe a heart of empathy but he didn't have empathy, so he didn't understand if I needed him to be more consoling in different things or be more supportive, because he's never had to do that. What actually I had to learn is that my life is different from his. I have been surrounded by a different nurturing part of my mother, or I may have lacked it in my dad and expected it from the man that I was with. But I didn't know what it looked like from my daddy. But then I'm dealing with a man that has never had a man to show up and show him effectively how to be able to navigate a relationship. So here we are sometimes feeling like oil and water. But then I realized that if there was a line of communication that wasn't being understood, I had to learn that once again, this right here, I can give life and I can snatch souls. And I knew that, but I had to learn the balance of it, in regards to the relationship. Or not to say, oh, you acting like your mama, but not saying he was his mama, but there were things that reminded me of what maybe she had did or said. And so I had to learn to de-escalate a conversation by saying, you know what, we're not gonna talk about it right now. But then I would get the rebuttal where you don't get to end the conversation. Well, then you finna talk to yourself, because I'm doing what I feel is healthy for us. But truly, you're getting two different people. If I've had more of a man that not for as masculine, but more dominant in an area, that you have to listen to what I say and not say anything. And for me, that would be a breaking point, because then that puts me in this box that my voice doesn't matter. But then again, I take it back to childhood of not being heard. I was always seen, but not heard. And then here we go into this. I'm in a relationship. I'm seen, but I'm not heard. But when you need me to do different things, be your lover, be your friend, I show up in that capacity, but you don't meet me in the places that I need you to be, and that. So I had to learn that there is a difference in communication, and definitely what we hear. And so I learned more so that, like, men see, we're blue and or see pink, blue, and women see pink. So we definitely hear and see things totally different. And when I learned that, it was about how do I now communicate effectively, how I need him to hear me and understand where I'm coming from without being upset that he's not understanding at that particular moment. But I had to grow. It wasn't like that.
Hey, Gregory, so one of my guys hit me up and he was saying that a lot of times he feel like his wife is talking at him and not to him. And that can really shape how the man receives the conversation, and we'll go deeper into that. I know Dr. Carroll won't talk about the different dialect types, but can you just, if you don't mind, just briefly talk about how it can feel if you're being talked at versus to?
Yeah, it feels emasculating. What we're doing in these relationships is that we are battling and trying to solve generational trauma. And so every one of us we can go down the list and talk about how mom showed up and how dad showed up. And so what we probably aren't aware of on a spiritual level is that every generation, God gives an opportunity for that new generation to solve the generational trauma that has been experienced in your bloodline. And so we find ourselves attracted to people who remind us of our parents. Men generally find themselves attracted to women that are like their mothers, even if they did not like their mother. Women conversely find men that are like their father attractive, even if they did not have a good relationship with their father. The reason for that is that God is saying, here was some trauma, and I'm now asking you to try to fix it. And so we go through these repetitive cycles, generation after generation, till someone says, no, it's going to stop with me. I'm going to learn the tools. I'm going to get a coach. I'm going to go to therapy, and we're going to fix this. Now, as far as it feels to be talked to, no one likes to be talked to. And that is a clear way to end a relationship. Not many men are going to stay in a relationship for very long that are being talked to. So that's a surefire way of losing a man. Even if he stays with you, he probably won't be very loyal to you, because he's going to now try to find feminine energy that will build him up and support him. And so the Bible says that a woman can destroy her home by the words that she chooses. And so oftentimes we find that relationships end not because of what has been done, but what has been said.
Hey, Dr. Troy, there is this saying I told my guy one time, that conversation is like water. It's going to flow somewhere. So I'm thinking, like, if this woman if a woman is talking at him or belittling him or down talking him constantly, he's not going to feel safe. And then this is not justifying any behavior, but that conversation from that man is going to want to flow somewhere. and it ends up flowing to somebody else that offers an ear or listens to him. Would you agree with that?
I do, but I want to bring up a couple of different points, if you
Okay.
don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
First and foremost, when people say that they believe that they're speaking or communicating effectively, it is to whom and for whom, to whom and for whom, right? So there's an assumption that you're doing well. There's a thing called create, and it is the basis of any beneficial and productive relationship. It is, and it stands for communication, respect, empathy, acceptance, trust, and enjoyment. And that should be the hallmark of how you communicate with someone, right? Communication, respect, empathy, acceptance, trust, and enjoyment. The next thing is you can be a beneficiary of nurture and be victorious, or you can be a victim of nurture and sometimes end up being the villain. So we all watched television, we've all watched movies. So a lot of these things that we are often speaking of learning from our parents. It could be auntie, it could be our grandmother, it could be the movie we watched consistently as a kid. It could be Good Times. It could, I'm showing my age. It could be Good Times. It could be Family Matters. It could be the Cosby Show. It could be a multitude of different things that added stimuli to that already embedded nurture and false core beliefs. So we have to first stop saying that we're great at something without even evaluating what great looks like. I think I speak really well, but not all the time. I don't care how well I speak. I'm still human. I get angry. I get short-tempered. I get less tolerant. Right? That's a human condition. We have to take that into account and unpack and unlearn so we can relearn, and then we can start applying that going forward. So there's the 3 L's. Learn to leverage the lesson so you don't take an L.
Brother George, you be giving us some steps.
Let me tell you something. I just need a recorder. Just be like, Siri, type what he just said to my phone, please. Siri trying to do something.
I have a question. Why is it that the women always have to be understanding and of the man? And I feel like sometimes we have to tread lightly because we don't want to hurt them. We don't want to talk at them. We don't want to control them. We don't want to do all these things. And we have to be understanding. Oh, he had a hard day, so I'm gonna let him do this, or he had whatever's going on. The women, I feel like we always have to be understanding. But when it comes to the men, they don't understand us, and it's like, well, we speak differently.
Right.
And so I'll put that to
Wait a
Gregory
minute.
because that really falls in line with the question that Gregory presented, but from a other standpoint, he's saying that it seems like it's the other way. So, Gregory, if you don't mind, address her because most of our experience or our beliefs are based off our experiences. So, what she's stating is her experience. So, we don't want to demean it or whatnot. But can you address hers and then lead us into your own understanding of what the reality is in that situation?
Yeah. Gerard, you hit the nail on the head with it. We are looking at relationships based on our own vantage point and our own experiences, right? And so we always feel that it is harder for us, that we are carrying the heavier cross, either as a man or the wife. We feel like the burden is ours for the success of this relationship, when really it is a shared burden. I think also, but as a man, I will say, living in this skin, it feels as though that men have to be a little bit more sensitive to a woman's needs, because when we are too assertive, too upfront, too direct, and we are called bullies and aggressive, we then sometimes have to temper our tone, and we have to shrink just a little bit in order so that we're not considered to be abusive in any kind of form or fashion.
But it's not a bad thing, though, right? Having to
It's not a bad thing.
Okay.
No. Compromise is always a good thing in a relationship because compromise shows that you care. So compromise is a good thing. But I do feel like there is a burden on both partners. Both women and men need to learn, how do you communicate? It does feel like to men that we are always getting criticized and chopped down because we don't have the right words to say, or we don't understand exactly what you mean when you say put the food away. And then because we make that mistake, then we are Neanderthals, and we don't, we're all these men bashing terms that you use. Far as women, though, since you were little girls, you always had the latitude to have a larger emotional landscape than we have had.
Wow, that's
And
good. That's
so
right.
Right.
it is more fair and more socially acceptable for a woman to have more emotions to share. So anger and sadness, joy and anger, all of that can be expressed in a woman, but it has to be controlled within a man.
Mhm.
Because if,
Wow.
if a man loses control, then we tend to think there will be harm caused, and there is danger when a man
Mm.
expresses an extreme emotion, even happiness or joy. There's a sense of danger there, that he's uncontrolled, he's unrestricted. And
Can I
so I
interject?
think, go ahead.
All right. First, I'd like us to know if we all agree on this statement. Words matter.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Words matter.
Mhm.
When we say burden, it has a negative connotation.
Mhm.
If we change the word burden to responsibility, it becomes more reciprocal. So men and women have a shared responsibility to manage their emotions
Mhm.
and deliver those bits of communication in a way that best resonates with their partner.
Mm.
Secondly, that feelings are not facts.
Mhm. Mhm.
It doesn't make a difference how much you feel it. Yes, your feelings are valid. They're valid, but it doesn't make them true. There's a difference between what is true and what is the truth. So if we take just one step back and say, okay, I'm a man and I
Mhm.
may have to dial it down, but a woman may have to say the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Because it is your responsibility to manage your, not mine. It's not my job. My job as a human being, regardless of my gender, is to learn how to listen, to understand, not to respond. And your
Mhm.
job when you're speaking to me is to
Mhm.
manage your feelings and communicate effectively. And when the tables turn, because it is not a line of communication, that's a false core belief, it is a circle of communication.
I
Well,
see all this stuff is Dan. It sounds easy, when we're here talking amongst each other. But
mhm,
to your point earlier, when tempers are flying and I'm
mhm,
angry and I'm not at my best, how
right.
how would you offer advice to your female counterparts on how to conduct themselves when tensions are high
Mm.
and it's time to
Yeah.
communicate?
Yeah, because I had a little episode before our show today, and it took me to a place, and I had to process it because I've held it in for so long, but I processed it. And so I always tell Gerard, when these things happen, I feel like I need to feel. I don't let it control me, but I feel what I need to feel at that moment. And I breathe in and I breathe out. Because
Mhm,
if I let things fester, what it does now, it disturbs my peace. Not saying that I won't address it, but I've learned not to address it in the moment. Now that may not be
yes.
tomorrow, it may be 2 days, but I know if I did it today, it was cutthroat. Like, mm,
Right.
bigger. There's a bigger picture for me, but there's also a healing that's taking place with it also. So I had to feel how I needed to feel, get it off my chest, but I knew I had to release it because I had been holding it in for so long because there's a
Can
bigger
I ask
picture. It's
why?
bigger than me. Excuse me, sir.
May I ask why? Like what made you
Why?
Hold
hold
it
it
in.
in so long?
What made me hold it in for so long is because there's a little person attached to this situation now.
I see.
It would affect it has already affected my family
Mhm,
with my son. I'm just gonna keep it real with my son. And it's like somebody playing with your emotions because they can manipulate, and
right.
then they feel like they can just come back with no apology. Not that it's an expected thing, but in order for it to be a healthy environment for the little
Yes.
one, we have to address it. But if you just think that you can just throw something at me and it's just supposed to be like, oh yeah, we good, we cool, we're not best friends.
Right.
I'm not that. So I had to look at the fact that I don't want generational cycles to continue in my bloodline. So now I have to maneuver differently. Not that I'm not moving forward like I should, but I can't operate the way I wanted to back in the day. Because I think like I'm a couple of different people. I can be Misha. You don't want to deal with her. I can be Amesha. I'm IC. I'm loving. At the end of the day, I always thought myself as Anthrax too, silent but deadly. I don't want to be in that emotional roller coaster of emotions. I want to be able to say, this is how it made me feel. This is how we need to address it. But I'm not going to allow you to play a game with me that is not cohesive to make my family be whole again. And if that means separation and guidelines, we're going to do it. But I'm not going to play the game. I'm just not going to do that anymore. And so that's why I had to refrain at that moment, because it was just out of the blue. And so I'm just being real about it. And I held out for a long time. Matter of fact, for a whole year. Because the little one was involved. There was a baby that came along with this. And I held off because I loved, and I love my son that much to say, Lord, if this is the path that's taking place right now, I trust you to make it okay. And I'm gonna have to watch from a distance. And that's what I did for a year. You broke him when you took him, and you tried to send him back to me broken, and it ain't going down no more. So you done pulled up, Mr. Dr. Troy, you pulled up a little emotion, and it's kind, because that's who I am, but it's the truth. At this moment, it's over. It's finished. There's no more of this. And I've been silent and I've been quiet. This is the most restraint that I have ever had to carry in my life, because I've trusted God to bring this back full circle, to get my son, my only son, my family back. But there's still a war that's going on, and I have to be quiet for a reason, and it's okay. But I trust it. But because my son is healing, I won't let nobody take life from him ever again, because he's trying. He knows what he needs to do for himself. So the real men talk, it matters. Men need safe spaces. It's been taken away too long. Men need to know that it's okay to feel, it's okay to hurt. And this is not a one-sided thing. Men hurt, and they get hurt just as much as we get hurt by men. Women hurt men, and we don't look at it from that angle. But we'll side with the women because we're in this woman empowerment era. I side with women some too, but when right is right and wrong is wrong, that's just what it is. And I'm going to digress for now. But that's the answer that I'll give you, is because it was a picture bigger than myself. And it's attached.
Well, I want to say thank you so very much for sharing your most authentic self right now. Like, it takes a lot of vulnerability to be able to do that. So, and I appreciate you sharing with me as a stranger, right? Although I'm a colleague, it takes a large amount of courage, not just to admit it to others, but just as importantly, admit it to yourself, right?
Thank you.
One of the things I like to bring up is that we have to have very specific rules when it comes to dealing with conflict, right? And it can be difficult when people are involved that we love, especially when it comes to kids, right? I'm a daddy, okay? So I absolutely understand. I don't want anybody, and I mean anybody, hurting my children. But I'm a big believer in, if you ever watch the show, the first 48, and the first 48 hours is the time period in which it is the most important and impactful to gather evidence, because everything is fresh, right? And that's the best time to address things, in the first 48 hours, because when you the rug, it's a lumpy rug. Right. And we think we're doing ourselves a service. It's just that we have to find a better way to be able to communicate what we're feeling, and still objectively, after we've gone through it, right? So you feel it, then you think it, to be able to resolve the situation. Am I saying that's easy? Of course not. Of course not. It can't be, because your feelings are involved, and love is involved, and pain is involved. So of course it's going to be a wall that you have to go around, over, under, through. But the thing is, at the end of the day, the communication cycle that we've learned and gone through is sometimes filtered through that pain. And we have to work a little bit more diligently. And I'm not taking anything away from you. I'm not saying you specifically. I mean, just generally, we have to find better ways to achieve the goal, because at the end of the day, we are responsible for our behavior and the impact that it has on around us. And sometimes all we can do is what we can do until we know how to do something better, right?
Yeah.
You don't know what you know, you don't know.
Yeah, and there's some good points. You're right, especially to her point, when there's legalities that you got to try to navigate, and it's never easy way, but hey, it's never easy. But I want to hit some of these comments, and then we're gonna go to a commercial.
Yeah.
So there was one from somebody's on the Mogul TV Global Network. It says we should be understanding towards each other and realize that we are all humans with emotion. And that's the when I watch social media and see how we come at each other sometimes, and that's one thing that comes to my mind. I'm like, man, do they not realize they're talking to another human being with feelings, with emotions and fears and triggers? But then I say, hey, yeah, they do know, and that's why they're talking to them like that, because they're broken themselves. So that's a good point. Carlos, appreciate the comment from everybody. Keep them coming. But Carlos Griffin says, very valuable points. A man goes through a lot at work, coming home from work. We just want to arrive home after providing for you with peace. It's rough, but I truly believe in giving my significant other peace and security. And that's important. That peace and security part is important. How do we give that? And the world is still attacking us, and we got challenges out there, but that doesn't take away from our duties at home. And it can be a challenge navigating. So I'll ask you, how would you give people advice on this one right here when the world is beating you down, but you still have to come home and tend to and be, what you gave your mate that you vowed to them that you would be? Anybody?
Timing is everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I always say, pick and choose your battles. Everything. You don't have to speak on every single thing, but then sometimes with me, I'm like, I keep it all in. So if that's bothering me or this is, I'm like, okay, it's bad. Again, we're back on the understanding bad time, and he just got home from work. So sometimes, I will keep it in, but then just like I said, it stacks up. And then when do you get to talk about it? So then I have to say, like, you know what? I'm not disrupting your peace by talking. Why is that? If disrupting your peace, or you can come home and then you have a down period so you can de-escalate from work and get your mind together. Because when I walk in the house, I don't want to, even with the kids, I don't want to be like, mommy. Let me get some time to breathe and relax and take my time to.
You gotta hide in the bathroom.
Clothes off,
And that don't work. That don't work, Mr. Troy. That does not work.
Look, I know, because they would knock on the door, like, take my work clothes off, and then we can together come up a period of time, like, okay, hey, at 8 o'clock or whatever, that's the time to discuss. But let me just get home and
That's good.
tell.
I know earlier, Dr. Troy, you used the word that you're intentionality coach. I think is how you
intentionalist.
Intentionalist, yeah. And I think I'm understanding what that is, right? Being intentional. I like what Ivori said. Like, you got to schedule time. I remember when I was married before, and we went through some issues. One of the things I used to do is I would sit in the garage or pull up and literally sit in the garage for 20, 30 minutes and just like, man, really mentally prepare myself. And sometimes they would just by time. I didn't know what to expect or what it would do, but sometimes it didn't do anything but by time. But what I did learn is that regardless of what I'm going through, it doesn't take away from what she needed. So I had to learn and take on that it's not always about me, it's about us. And learning that, serving her and her serving me, it always put us in a better space. So when tensions are high, when I'm not at my best, I learned that even serving her, it diffused the situation and it bought me time. And maybe it was the next day or the next week, or maybe it never even came up again, because it was, whatever reason. But I'm just saying that the mindset of service and just being a little patient and buying time can be enough to diffuse the situation. So
yeah, but all the time, like when they come home, it's not like a nagging type of thing. Sometimes we just happy to see our man, and we just want to be all in my man's face, and so and kiss all over him because we missed him. So it's not, So then when we get in that space, it's like my man home, and we get in his space, and he's like, "Dang, I just came home from work. Let me relax. Let me take my coat off. Let me put my briefcase down or something." Like, so now I feel like with that, you're killing the mood now. Like, now I don't even want to do it no more.
we talk about your expectations, right?
take all the time you need.
Hey, so let's get one more coming in. Dean Manuscript says, bringing peace and stability home every day is my choice. Man, I love that. So I'm prepared to try to bring that energy every time I walk in with spouse or children. And to say that is a choice, I get it. Again, it's my responsibility. I might not be at my best. The circumstances might not be ideal, but I'm still dad. I'm still husband. I'm still, whatever it is, other roles in that. So, again, that mindset of service in my mind, I think is a good way to achieve some level of peace and happiness until, tempers die down a little bit. So,
well, and I think that we've gotten away from, or let me say gotten away from, because child, I ain't dated so long. I feel like I'm gonna have the Holy Ghost to ask him to sit on my shoulder. Try to be like, girl, let me talk to you. But anyway, we don't like enough to say, like, when we get home, like, baby, how was your day? We don't ask those questions anymore. And even if it goes to the point that you say, well, it wasn't the best day. And then you can say, well, are you up to talking about it? And if not, then hey, whenever you're ready, we can talk about it. And I'm just learning this in my single time, because I'm over talking to the Lord. I'm like, Lord, do you really? I know you want to know, but you probably don't. And so just those things, just being more, like you said, just intentional with things, and just saying, even if it's like now, I would probably, moving forward, I'm gonna leave love notes, honey, because I'm so good at love notes now, baby. I'm gonna make sure you got one in his bag, honey. We get him to brush his teeth. I need him to know when he leave, I want him to be happy. It may not be the best day, baby, and something may come up, but I need you to just process that thing and come on back a different way. And if it's really that bad, I want you to, deal with it. And then when you come home, let me just sit down and let's just have some Cocoa Puffs or something, a chili willy. Let's just make a little drink. Just kind of bring that laugh, because I'm like this home girl, homeboy. If he don't ask me to play basketball, I might say, you know what? I know you like basketball. Let's go down there to the court. Or I'm just in that place, but I'm learning to just speak up more, or to ask, or to say, and just to ask the question, like, baby, how was your day?
Yes.
So that I feel like that's going to work, because now I talk to a plant, and it's her name Priya, but I'd be like, Priya, darling, would you like sunlight? That's a practice for you. It's not my man. It's teaching me how to communicate with somebody that can't say nothing back to me. How about that?
Yeah, the beautiful thing about it is if it go right and you ask him, he tell you in a loving way. But if he had a bad day, that might not even come out the best way. So,
well, even so with that, but then should I get offended if it don't come out right? Because I did ask, and it's not. It may be an attention moment, but I'm just saying I had to learn this. Now, back in the day, I probably would have popped out and said, "You ain't got to talk to me like that," because of course there's defense mechanism there.
Well, I mean, if he talked to you, what if he just was dry in his response?
Like how? Give me an example. Talk to me like.
So you asked me, hey, how was your
day? How you day? Good.
It was all right.
Then I would be like, okay. I'm like, okay, chill. So I'm not gonna. I've learned to do better with that now. Back in the day, I was like, now you clearly it was a bad day if you responded like that. But now it's like, okay, it probably wasn't. Baby, if you want to talk about it, lady, we can, and I'll leave it at that. And then we could do like this. What you want, a ham sandwich or turkey? Kind of lighten the mode a little bit. I'm learning that too. I don't gotta let him stay there. He can be that way, but hey, let's just go have some popcorn in,
Yeah, Greg, I know you got something we can let you answer, then we're really gonna go to commercial.
Yeah, one hack that I gave couples in marriage counseling was when your spouse comes home, hold each other for 10 seconds and only say to each other, I appreciate you. And then after that, you can let your spouse go, shake the office off, give them 20 minutes to change and come back. But when they come home and you notice the energy is off, hold your spouse for at least 10 seconds and just say, I appreciate you.
Now that's good.
Yeah. I feel like you fell in love in your mind with that one.
I was like, who I'm going home, baby?
You put some tears in my eyes with that one, brother. I
was like, that was good.
Simple, intentional.
But the thing about it is that it sounds, to be honest, it sounds really good. I ain't gonna lie, it sounds good, but it sounds good. But your partner has to be able to receive you, regardless if it's your husband or if it's your wife or whoever. They have to be able to receive you and understand that it's coming from a good place. It's not coming from a bad place. It's coming from a good place. And if they don't receive you, then It's pointless, but but I mean, it's good. I'm gonna give it a try, there, Greg. I'm gonna give it a try.
I good
They
idea. I just
deceive you.
we do have to be considerate of the love language of the person and what our
Mm,
intent is,
That's
right?
good.
So we can have the best intentions in the world, but if it doesn't match our partner's love language, then that
yeah,
holding can turn to bondage.
yeah.
So
That's good. That's
Hmm.
good. Hey, so let's go ahead and take a commercial break. And after this commercial break, we're gonna come back and continue this discussion.
I talk to you.
Mogul TV Global Network is the #1 streaming TV network for positive programming. Built on the pillars of culture, diversity, and legacy, Mogul TV Global Network is the award-winning platform serving men, women, and families with purpose, positivity, and passion, while celebrating life by educating, inspiring, entertaining, and empowering viewers around the globe to live their lives on purpose. Visit www.themogulchannel.com.
I talk to
Welcome back. Welcome back. Appreciate everybody that's sticking with us so far. It's been a lot of good conversation. I'm over here taking mental notes, and I'm going to watch the show again to make sure that I didn't miss anything. Same thing out there in the audience. If y'all just tuning in and you didn't get the beginning, don't miss it. Go back and hit the replay later on and come in, and we'll make sure that we interact with you in the comments. So this next question is one of my favorites. It's from our very own Ivori, the conscious creator. But she talked about how women sometimes support and encouraging men, that the man can take that as an attack, or say that the woman is trying to control him. And I think Dr. Troy, you hit it a little bit when you talked about his love language, understanding how you I guess you can prepare yourself on how he could potentially respond. But Ivory, am I stating the question right? That sometimes you're trying to encourage and uplift, but he's taking it as an attack or a method of control.
Yeah. So I feel like, when women, I'm gonna speak for myself. Yeah, I gonna speak for everybody. But sometimes when we give, let's encourage our man. And I feel like maybe, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if they're not in a good place, so they're not receiving it. It could be insecurities, but I feel we encourage, we like, baby, you got us, or whatever's going on, and they do not receive it well. Or they receive it as an attack or shut down. And it's hard for us to communicate when they're like that, but it's coming from a really good place.
Yeah. Gregory, Dr. Troy, one of y'all want to take that one?
Go ahead, Doc. I've got to put my thoughts together on that one for her answer.
You're on
Dr.
mute.
Troy, you're mute. You're mute.
all right, so we know that there is both encoding, which is providing information, and decoding, which is comprehending that information. Now, although this is not a flat fact across the comprehension level of the average person is about 12 years old. So keep that in mind. And then that is also impacted by the environment we grew up in, which we've talked about extensively. All right, so it's a huge filter, and then what they went through that moment. So some things can be seen as an attack because from their perspective at that moment, it is. But it doesn't mean it's your fault, right? The encoder is not responsible for the decoder. That's their responsibility. And sometimes it is, I'm going to take a pause, take a moment, and then I'm going to reassess. But how do you reassess? How do you then not attack that problem, but deal with it, right? As an example, saying, okay, well, we can talk about it later. Men do not like to hear that. I will tell you, if you start off a conversation like we need to talk, nope, we're sitting down in advance. Or we can talk about it later. we are already prepared not to talk about it later. We don't want to talk about it at all at that point. So
Right.
instead, it requires us each on both sides to better understand what communication actually looks like. Right? We all think, and again, I'm going to use myself as an example. I don't care how well I think I can communicate, all the classes and the certifications, yeah, whatever. At any point, you know what I am? I'm a human being that had a terrible day. And sometimes you bring that home. Can I give a quick story?
Yeah.
A very quick story. One day I went to my daughter's room and I was like, what is this weird smell in here? And she was like, Daddy, I don't know. So I'm like, we need to clean up this room to find out what this odor is. And I'm looking around, we clean it, and I could not find it. She couldn't find it. And I'm still trying to figure out, like, something is wrong. I'm looking in drawers and I'm looking under the bed. And then I see a book bag that's sitting in the corner. And I walk over to the book bag and the smell's getting stronger. I open the book bag, nothing's in the main pockets. I open the poor pens and pencils go, and there's an old sandwich. She'd had that old sandwich in there long enough for it to be black and green. But she didn't even realize that she had it because she becomes so used to the smell. So we carry things around all the time and not even realizing this. I'm not saying that's an excuse. At first, it is a reason. When you don't take care of it, address it, and be accountable for it, it's an excuse.
Yeah.
So sometimes understand, you, he, she, they can bring those things home like a monkey on their back. They don't even realize it. It's just that, oh, I smell so used to it. So we have to take that step back, look around, open up a few bags, unpack them. Oh, that's what it is. Now I can address it. I can toss that away. But sometimes the right time is not at that time.
Yeah.
No more than 48 hours. That's my philosophy. That's what I teach. 48 hours. Don't put it under the rug. You got a lumpy rug, and I promise you, at some point, you're gonna trip over that spot and hit your shin. You ever hit your shin on the table with the corner? That little sharp part. Oh, it hurts so bad.
Put that table there.
Or that little pinky toe. Don't forget that
Little
pinky.
pinky toe. So emotionally, that's what we have, right? We have a little pinky toe that got hit on the edge because we tripped over the things that were under the rug.
Yeah.
That we thought, this is not a big deal. I can just talk about it later. Gerard, what you say earlier, it has to flow somewhere.
You got to flow somewhere. Yeah.
It's a flow somewhere. And typically, when you ignore the issue for too long, or you don't properly address it, and that's something you have to learn how to do with the person you're with. There's no general way to address something. That's when it becomes exacerbated. That's when it grows exponentially.
Yeah. Gregory, what you got, brother?
All right, for my note takers, get your pen and papers out. I got some notes for you to take. Because I hear a lot of women run into this issue quite a bit. And the first thing I want to say is that unrequested advice is often interpreted as criticism. So unrequested advice is often interpreted as criticism, right? And so in my practice, there's a way that I connect with men, and it generally helps. So for my note takers, there's 3 C's: connect, confirm, and then correct. Connect, confirm, and then correct. So first, you want to connect. If he's looking to build a business, hypothetically, you go, hey, honey, so I see that you are building a business. This barbershop is going to be great for the community. I'm proud of your work that you're doing there. Then you confirm him. So you applaud him for what he's wanting to do. I'm so proud of you, honey, that you're actually going to take a stand and then become your own man and run your own business. After you have connected and confirmed him, now you can correct because he sees you on his team. He sees that you have his back. And now you can say, okay, honey, how I think you can market this is you can do this, A, B, and C. And so for women, I give the advice to connect, confirm, and then you can correct. Because a man wants to know first that you have his back. So just like Maya Angelou once said, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So first show him how much you care, and then he will be able to listen to your direction and your advice and it not be interpreted as criticism.
That's good, man. You need a copyright that, man. If you ain't put that down,
I'll put my trademark on it. Don't be stealing my stuff, y'all.
Sure, man. That's good.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
So,
So
Gregory, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ivory. I didn't. Go ahead.
so I'm gonna use that. Okay. Oh, I was going to use that same example, right? My man starting a business, and so with me, I'm gonna speak for me. If you tell me, if my man tells me that, you know what, I want to start a business, I'm already like processing of ways I can help him. Ways I'm just gonna jump in and I may didn't confirm it and see if it was okay, but I'm giving, I want to support my man. I want to show him that I'm all in and I'm supporting him. So if he is not ready because he just came up with the idea and is going too fast, he's going to reject me.
Mm-hmm.
I feel it happened.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to reject me because all
Yes.
he did was come up with an idea. I didn't already came up with a logo, had a business, I had everything. And I'm pushing him. It's not going to come from a good place.
Yeah. So Ivory, you got some technical issues. I don't know if you want to try to get out for a moment and come back in, but that is appreciate you sharing your perspective. And I think Dr. Carroll, or one of y'all already, well, Gregory, it was you. You just talked about not just unsolicited, but I was just thinking, Gregory, as you was talking, if you confirm me, and what's the first two C's? Confirm,
Connect, confirm, correct.
connect. If you connect and confirm, and then come and behind me correct, I'm gonna be looking at you. Oh, okay, that's really what this was about. You were really just trying to find a way to correct or critique what I'm doing.
Right.
So I'm not saying that what you're saying is wrong, but I can see how, and I guess a way to soften that is maybe not do it all at once. That
Or
may take
and
days, right?
ask the question.
Ask some questions.
Right?
Okay.
Instead of
How can I help you
offering.
with that, honey?
Right. So and I'll use an example. And it's something I had to also learn. Right. So it is, men are fixers by nature. And sometimes we want to offer unsolicited advice when all that woman wanted you to do was listen to her. You may have to ask, hey, is this a listening moment or are you looking for advice? Additionally, when we talk about the term correction, which I absolutely agree that we have to, when you love someone, you want to offer them an opportunity for things that you've already researched. But much like you said, if it's unsolicited, it can come off as so it is, hey, baby, I had an idea. Do you mind if I share it with you? It's a softer approach to that same correction. So it is both, I think, are both valid. It's just that sometimes, and again, depending on your mate, it may become better. It may be better well received if it comes as a question. Now, I found often when it comes to engendering that opening to be able to step into that space is by asking for permission, not in a subservient way, but I had a few ideas. You mind if I share them with you? Or maybe I had this great idea. You got time for me to tell you? Oh, yeah, go ahead. Tell what you're thinking. Oh, I got this great, you can do this logo, you could do this. I found this website you can go on. Then he can absorb that information, or even she, right? I don't want to say only he. I want to say both he or she. Is that person can then absorb that information from a different space altogether.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Appreciate it. We've got a couple comments in there. Mogul says, and when she says right now, I'm not interested in hearing you, respect it and don't talk about it just yet. Yeah. That's kind of on the line of that unsolicited, if she don't want to hear it right now, or he don't want to hear it right now, the worst thing we can do is to keep trying to force the conversation. So I absolutely agree with that. Now we want to go to Dr. Troy's topic. So I know, Tamika, you have a chart. I would like for you to put that chart up. Then we're going to let Dr. Troy lead us into the discussion on these dialect types.
All right. Perfect. Thank you so much. So first and foremost, I want to take a step back just for a second and talk about that there are two different types of communication, right? And in those communication, there are also ways of descriptors for that outside of these communication dialects. So there's, again, it's a circle, not a line. And number two, it is encoding and decoding. And we know that comprehension is sometimes is not at the level that we think that it is. Then we have these dialects that are going to be either less effective or more effective. And one of the operative words here is effective. So it's not that these things can't work or never work. It is that what is the most effective one that you can do, right? So one is discourse. That's one way, right? I'm delivering information. It's almost like a lecture, right? And depending on how you're decoding that or comprehending that information, how you're taking that information will determine your response to it, right? So I'm teaching or informing. And obviously, if I'm a teacher or I'm informing you, then that works, okay? Another one is diatribe, right? Which again is one way, but now it's competitive. Okay, now it's competitive. It's one way and it's competitive. I am now telling you how I feel. I feel you did. I feel you did that. And what did I say earlier? Feelings are not facts. I care about your feelings. I will listen to your feelings, but after the facts, then you can tell me how you feel about them. It's more like browbeating. Right? Even if it's not physically, I'm not standing over you, but my words are battening you down. Then there's a debate, right? It's two-way. Now we're competing. We're competing, and there's no real winner nor a trophy at the end of this race. Okay? It sounds like arguing because, well, most likely it is. When you debate, and there are some healthy debates, so please don't misunderstand. Debate, often emotions are running high, and you're not consciously in that moment. So you're trying to win or convince. It's my point matters more than your point. That's not the best way to ever engender a resolution. So the sweet spot, dialogue. It's two-way, it's cooperative. Even in constructive conflicts, it sounds like I'm exchanging information. Earlier, I said, we're not going to interrupt, we're going to interject. And it's perfectly fine. Have you ever noticed that when you're speaking without a large amount of high emotions, you can interrupt each other all the time? Like, there's no problem then, right? It's absolutely okay for people to interrupt you. But as soon as you add feelings or anger or fear or sadness, that interjection turns into an interruption. So we have to be mindful. Instead, it's two-way, it's reciprocal. We're exchanging ideas and information. And what is our intention? What is our goal overall? It is to build a relationship, resolve the issue, and be able to apply that resolution. Again, learn to leverage the lesson so you don't have to worry about a loss. 3 L's so you don't have to take an L.
I like that. That's good. That's good. One of the ones that stood out to me the most is that debate. And I was talking to some friends before, and I was telling them that, like, after if you're talking for something, about a subject, 30 minutes or an hour or two later, I said at some point you're trying to convince the other one to think like you. And so then I think at some point it becomes ineffective or I don't know what the right word is, but would you agree with that?
Well, I'm going to use a word that sometimes people don't like to hear.
Okay.
Selfish. Sometimes we don't understand and realize that we're being selfish. We think, well, I'm just trying to get you to see where I'm coming from. Well, I heard you 30 minutes ago. And just because I'm listening does not mean I have to agree. Just because I'm listening does not mean I have to agree. As a partner, it is my requirement to listen with an open heart, open eyes, and an open mind. I'm going to say that again. As a partner, it is a requirement for me to listen with an open heart, open eyes, and open mind. I got to feel where you're coming from. I got to see where you're coming from. And I got to think about what you said.
That's good. That's good. Hey, Gregory, that's this old saying that Rome wasn't built overnight. So sometimes we get in these conversations, it's like, man, we got to come to a resolution right now, right here today. So what kind of advice do you give your people when you're giving counseling and tools on how to get through this conflict resolution?
One of the things that I like to do is first seek clarity. I am not concerned as much about what you're fighting about as though I am concerned about what you're fighting for.
Yes.
And so when people are coming to me and there's a conflict, they a lot of times will tell me the details. He put the pots in the refrigerator, or he didn't take out the trash. Well, those are things you're fighting about, but what are you fighting for? You're fighting for partnership. You're fighting to be seen. You're fighting for security. You're fighting for a partner who is engaged in this relationship. So now that we have clarity, we can kind of get a sense of calmness in the room. So first we got to have clarity, we can have calmness, and then we can discuss what is actually at the core here that needs to be resolved. So oftentimes, let's not focus on what we're fighting about, but let's focus on what we're fighting for.
Yeah. And I think the assumption in that example is that it's something positive. So sometimes I know people's fighting for something that's not positive, that's toxic, that's, it's not just to be heard, but it's to control the situation.
And even in that's also a good thing. Truth is a gift. Truth is a gift. And a lot of times in therapy, people will say some very mean things to their partners. I don't like your mother. Well, you know what? Truth is a gift. And so what that tells me now is that we need boundaries between us and my parents or our in-laws. And so what we can look at truth as being an attack, or we can look at truth is something that now we've learned that we have to navigate around. I would rather be told an ugly truth than a beautiful lie any day.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Okay. Yeah. So this was good, and we're coming up on an hour and a half, so we can keep this conversation going. But one thing that Tamika and I talked about is continue this next month and the month after. So we're going to do a couple. Actually, we're going to go to IC. We're going to let you wrap this discussion up, and give us, if you could, give us a good minute or so of just some words of inspiration of just wrap this discussion up and give us, just some good words, if you don't mind.
Oh, let me see where I'm gonna come from with this one on today. First of all, what it says, she said, he heard. I just want us to be able to navigate from a different heart space, not a head space, but a heart space, because a lot of the things that we are dealing with is technically in the heart, and a lot of things that we're allowing to continue is what we've allowed to stay in the heart. And what it does, it just begins to be you once having this loving heart that was, a strong pulse, let me say that. And because you harbor old things and don't address them or allow old patterns to keep going on, then the heart no longer has a strong point. There's almost a flat line there. And when flat line comes, there's no life left in anything. And if you want life to be sustainable in relationships, there's the work that you have to get back to that healthy place. That means if I got to exercise to get my cardio up right, if I got to eat better to be able to, lose the weight, I have to do these same things in relationships. And at times we don't want to put in the work because there's pain that comes with it. If I got to, do these reps, sometimes those the reps that I have to do, I don't want to do rep 15 because now there's pain there that I really need to press through it so that I can be better. But I'm just going to start right here, because anything that's going to push me to get out of this comfort zone to be better, I just stay in between the lines so that I don't have to go to the next level of being better for myself so that I'm better for somebody else. Learn to turn the attention off of your partner at times and focus, not at times, take the attention off the partner and do the work that you need to do for yourself. I always say that personal rehab is the most important when you got to sit and face yourself. And a lot of times we don't want to sit in that mirror, because that mirror is where the ugliness of everything really comes out. I got to go all the way back to the little girl, to the woman. There's a lot of things that have happened. Some things that were not my fault. Some things were. But how do I navigate to be better? How do I even do this better for my children to see me do it differently? Because I always say that there's a little girl, and I use it that it's a male or female female statement that I'm going to say. There's a little girl watching me. How will I influence and impact her life? There's a little boy watching me. How will I influence and impact his life? Because even as a mother, I can influence and impact my son to be with the wrong woman. My daughter's the same. But what do I do to navigate that, to say, you know what? Now that I've noticed what these changes are, I have to now address the little girl. You gotta let go of all of that trauma that came. And then the woman in me that has allowed things or accepted some things, I gotta say, I forgive you. I forgive me for the way I've allowed my heart to be handled, how I've allowed people to do it, how I even accepted some things. Because there is a lady in me, because we stop at the gender, boy, man, little girl, woman, but there's a gentleman and a lady in all of us, and we never get to those places of the highest quality of ourselves because we don't go back and face ourselves in all the rough patches that we've been in. I tell myself now that even when COVID came and we had to wear the mask, a mask is no longer my accessory, because it's not a compliment that I have to mask everything behind an emotion just to save face for other people. I'm gonna strip the mask off for myself first in order to be the best me, loving me correctly, knowing that in the next relationship that I want to be in, that I know that what I'm, able to receive and accept, because I did the work for me. Do the work for yourself first before you want anybody to come in and do all this porn and all of this structured thing before you can do it to yourself. So that's my nugget on today, is personal rehab. Get off in that mirror, baby, and sit there. And so, in other words, you got to face yourself so that you forgive yourself, so that you can free yourself. And when you can get there, I promise you, there's a different fragrance and aroma that you will wear. Cologne different for the men, and then you'll be able to enjoy the own scent of yourself, and not waiting for somebody to come in and validate that for you to feel like you got to smell. No. First of all, I'm gonna be good in his nostrils. But now that I can smell me, baby, let me tell you something. I like breezes that come through, because that fragrance come a little softer than the wind. Because when the wind come and bring around trash, baby, and I ain't trying to get mixed up with nothing that ain't for me the way I be. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I done really grew up, as they would say. I know that ain't correct grammar, because I'm like, I can get on here and talk, but I'm just really who I am, and I talk Ebonics, correct English, proper grammar, all of that, because it reaches the people, right? But I do like to be absorbed into the atmosphere of how Dr. Troy would say something, Gregory would give it from that analogy. But I'm just over here, the parable of Jesus, reaching the people that don't even know how to speak big words. I could just come down and I can grab them. But I'm just saying, do the work on yourself. And I promise you, baby, it's going to be beautiful. So I'm just the old bouquet over here, honey, that I'm enjoying my fragrance. And the bouquet that I'm sitting with tonight, I have gathered your flowers, and y'all smell good separately, but we sure smell good on tonight. And that's all I'm going to leave y'all with, okay? Y'all can send me cash apps if you want to. This ain't the end of it. I'm done with it.
Hey, if this was a spoken word event, man, we'd all be snapping our fingers right now, man. Appreciate those words. You always inspire us. So we're going to take a moment, and now we're going to go through some final comments from the audience, and then panel, get your words of inspiration to share with everyone after these last few comments. I know we had one up top from Venetia Sherrill. She says, appreciate the comments. She says, being considerate of each other's love language is powerful. Absolutely. She said, and not project unsolicited advice when you ask first. It opens the door for the other person to solicit your advice and opinions. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So anybody want to address that one right there? Okay. What else going down? Mogul says it's a circle, not a line. Oh, she's talking about the chart that you put up there. Here's one from Samantha. She says selfish takes over instead of being selfless. And a lot of that is learned. And what's crazy is we just look at a little social media and we hear people say, if it ain't good for me, I don't want it. And I'm just thinking, like, how selfish is that to be in a relationship? Relationships are how two objects relate to each other. And if I'm in there only concerned about what's good for me, what I want and what I want to be, what does that leave the other person? So I absolutely agree with that comment right there. What else? Do we have another one? Peace is more important than proving a point. I'm gonna let one of y'all intellectual ladies or gentlemen take this one right here from Tiffany Foreman.
Dr. Troy was nodding. Let Dr. Troy have it. He was nodding like, yeah.
So
All right, go ahead. Go ahead, Ivory.
oh no, I look, I'm all about my peace. If you're gonna disrupt my peace, I don't even want to be a part of it. Okay. So sometimes, like I said, just picking choosing your battles and just saying, you know what, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And sometimes I'm sorry is not like I'm gonna shut this conversation down, but it's just sometimes it's gonna shut the conversation down because you don't want to keep going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. So we got to revisit. I know Dr. Troy said we don't want to revisit something, but we got to revisit or talk about it later, just to have our peace, or just for us. It's not just about my peace; it's about our peace in the home.
Yeah.
And not just about his peace, about our,
Yes.
I'm not at peace if he ain't at peace, or he shouldn't be at peace if I'm not in peace, so
Yes.
just having peace in the home. Like, you know what? I'm gonna pick and choose. I don't want to choose this one. We
Right.
good, babe. We good, babe.
Like Dr. Troy earlier said, not burden, but it's a dual responsibility, right?
Yes.
To achieve.
Oh, I like when he flipped the script on that. It's like, it ain't a burden, it's a responsibility. I'm like, well, okay, I take responsibility.
Yeah. So hey, this was good. I appreciate everybody. Again, keep the comments coming, and we'll make sure we get to all of them. Thank you, panel. But this is a time where you get to, share with them some inspirational words, and then after that, we'll let at the same time for Dr. Troy and Gregory, as you're doing your inspirational words, let us know how people can follow you and get in contact with you if they got any questions in the future. We'll start with Gregory, if you will.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we have to remember. I know we talked a lot about relationships, but within the confines of a marriage, it is also ministry, and that does require sacrifice. That does require you to think of yourself less. It does require sometimes a great deal of compromise. It does require at times doing things that will take you out of the box. But that is what beauty comes out of marriage, is that you have someone who's willing to go the extra mile for you. Someone that says, I don't do this normally, but I will do it for you.
Right.
That is the beauty, to have someone that is so dedicated to you that will say, for no other person on the planet will I make these sacrifices for. And so that's a lovely thing. And I think within marriage, sometimes we get caught up in the social media era of comparing ourselves to others. The goal for me is this: perfection is not the goal, healthy is the goal. And so within the confines of a great relationship, you will know that it's a good relationship because healing is present, where safety is present, and where you feel healthy, you feel understood. You don't have to shrink who you are. You can be your best and brightest and boldest self, and you have someone on the sidelines that's always cheering for you to be even bigger, to be even better. And so if you're in a relationship where it may not be perfect, but you are healthy, then you should give yourself a pat on the back, because that is a good relationship where you can be happy.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. And how can we find you?
You can find me on all social media platforms, just by typing in Gregory McKinney. I am there for you. Again, I do relationship counseling. My niche particularly is for men, helping them understand emotional intelligence. However, I'm available for anyone. If anyone wants to chat and go a little bit deeper into why they act the way they do, why they are who they are today, and why they have the triggers that they have, I would love to talk to you and be of service to you.
I appreciate you. Dr. Carroll.
So, first and foremost, George Eliot once said, it is never too late to become who you might have been. And that is indicative to a relationship, or just you in a relationship with yourself. And another point is, diamonds take between 1 to 3.3 billion years to form. None of us are going to do this overnight, right? Because sometimes in life, we are less than what we intend to be, but we should never intend to be less than we are. We have to take that, some of the trials and tribulations and adversity that we feel with a grain of salt, because it's not a matter of if. You will become better when you put in the work. It's only a matter of when.
That's good. That's good. That's good. And how can we reach out to you and reach you if we need to?
So for Facebook and LinkedIn, it is under Dr. Troy Carroll. On I also have through Facebook Inside Out Evolution, and then on Instagram is Inside Out _ Evolution, and then my website is www.insideoutevo.com.
Evo. And so we'll make sure that we get all these information put out for people to easily reference after this show. Appreciate you both. Miss Ivory, you know it's your time. She on mute right now.
I'm back. Look, the devil is busy, okay, over here.
And God is busier.
Right, I'm here.
Come on, Queen, it's your time.
So I would say, we got to take the emotion out of it and the ego out of it, out of our relationships. And because sometimes that gets in the way of what, how you listen, how you communicate, all of that gets in the way. And so, don't be so quick to speak. And sometimes you just have to just watch each other's movements and how they operate. Because sometimes you don't have to say anything. Just like Gregory said, just give them a hug. But some things doesn't always need to be, to be said. So just the nonverbal is loud. This is sometimes as the verbal. So I was just saying, just pay attention, and then communicate to each other like, hey, when we have problems or we need to talk about it, and create that space so he is willing to come and talk to you, or she's willing. Sometimes my walls be up and I will shut it all the way down. So it's not always the man shutting it down. Sometimes women, just like Tiffany said, they want their peace. So they don't want to argue, don't want to go back and forth. But at some point you have to be willing. And then ask him or ask her, what did you understand that I said? Sometimes we don't say that. We just go ahead and say this and that. But what did you hear? What did you hear from me? It's okay to ask. So I just say, just don't be so quick to shut conversations down. Be open, have it coming from a good place and not attack, and just have those healthy conversations. That's all I got.
That's good. That's good. Appreciate you. And this is how people can follow you, right?
Yeah. Oh, as Ivori Claire. Is that Ivori Claire? Yeah.
Yeah, Ivori Claire. So reach out. And my words just real quick. Sometimes you got to go beyond what's said and try to understand what a person is trying to communicate. Everyone might not be that eloquent speaker. Tempers might be flaring. They might be tired or whatever. And I just give a quick example. I remember my ex-wife, when we was having a heated discussion, and I used this example before. I see she's familiar with it, but she was telling me, she told me that, hey, we don't need two women in the house. I laugh at it now. It wasn't funny then. But she told me that she didn't need two women in the house. So I'd already had picked up the skill from counseling. She was like, Gerod, the therapist, was like, hey, when she say something that's hurtful, because she does, she like, slow down and think about what is she trying to say, because it might not come out the best way, but she might not have had any ill intentions. So I was like, okay, what she's saying is I'm kind of emotional right now, and I'm letting my emotions get the better of the situation. But I did take the time to tell her, you didn't have to say it like that, and she apologized. But we laughed about it, and I've talked to her recently, and we even talked about that conversation. Again, it wasn't funny then, but my point is, sometimes you got to try to look beyond what's said and try to understand, like, what are they trying to communicate? It takes skill, and it takes patience, and it takes you, what Ivori said, to let that ego go and say, like, you know what, get rid of that mindset. You ain't going to talk to me that kind of way, because if you're at that point, you're just two people just jockeying for a position, and you're not going to get anywhere. So that's my thing. Look beyond what's said sometimes and try to understand what is the other person trying to communicate. It takes patience. It takes you listening. In the Bible, it says to dwell with her with understanding, honoring her as the weaker vessel. And then it comes with a promise. It says that your prayers will be answered. So That's my word. I appreciate everybody. Man, we had a great conversation. Looking forward to doing this again next month. The audience, thank you for all your comments and tuning in and hanging with us. Tamika, you know we couldn't have done this without you. Appreciate you for running the board.
Thank you, girl.
And as Ivory and I see you, we always say, get you a Tamika in your life, man. We appreciate you.
And a Jerron.
So I see I'm gonna let you do your thing and take us out.
Well, I mean, I already gave y'all a little bit too much of an overload earlier. I was sitting here and all I could get in my spirit was just I want for me, because there's a lot of I don't know if everybody here got relationships because they sound like they booed up some kind of way. I don't know. I'm not. I don't think I read. Would you ride? You ain't. But them two at the bottom, I really don't know. I'm just gonna say love like you've never been hurt before, and that means you have to go down the line to open up your heart again. Because if you love like you've been hurt, then you're still in the wrong veins. Just love like you've never been hurt before. And I promise you that garden, because I said it on my page, that garden, baby, them weeds they won't stand a chance. It's gonna be so beautiful. And I just believe that that's possible, even for myself. Now I'm 50 and I ain't rushing the Lord, but I said, look, 51, I ain't gonna say 51 because 54, but come on, New Year, I've been putting in the work and I ain't rushing you. But I want to love like I ain't never been hurt before. You heard me? Because when I talk about that 48-hour process, my 48 was different in my head, and I laughed in the inside because when I was hurting, it was the first 48, but it definitely wasn't trying to process them. It had some yellow tape. I just didn't get to take nobody.
Come on with the transparency, I see.
Yeah, but I'm Amesiah Thomas. I always say Radiant Flowers. So you can follow me on Facebook under Amesiah Thomas. I am Inspirational Chic on Instagram. And I'm gonna do a little bit better with myself moving forward because God has a lot of purpose. So I gotta get this thing, her next move on the go, because baby, there's some moves to be made and we got to do this thing. But I love y'all and I have enjoyed tonight.
Love like you've never been hurt before.
That's
wow, that takes
I agree.
Go ahead and close out. I see.
Well, as before, we always tell you all, we don't want to leave y'all, but y'all got to do what you got to do tonight, and we got to go get some rest because we've been on this thing with y'all. But we still want you all to like, share, and subscribe on all social media platforms, Instagram, YouTube, even on Mogul TV, because we can shout that out there now. You know, I can feel my flow coming. The floor is yours. Podcast, TikTok, all of that right there. But just know that it is important that we get this out there because there are other people that need to come back and rewatch this. If you happen to watch the replay, hey, give us some nuggets, drop some comments. We can probably come back and answer those things. But yeah, thank you for always being a part of everything that God is allowing us to do and adding more people to this. And we just thank you all for always loving us and being here and just learning from one another. So we thank you on tonight and we love all of you. Have a good night.
Have a great night.
I talk to you, but you don't hear. My feelings loud, but they disappear. I say my heart, but you miss the beat. I need you to listen.